歌え踊れヘッドステージの幕が開く世界は一つの舞台それは交差する世界
Today, we're going to take a look at the greatest video game crossover of all time. So crossovers in video games have been happening since the dawn of video games. Ever back in the NES days, SNES days, you can even go as far back as the Game & Watch days. There has been crossovers in video games ever since the very beginning. Some crossovers are more well known. PlayStation All-Stars, Super Smash Bros., Mario Kart, Mod Nation Racers, Little Big Planet, just to name a few. But some of them, the more obscured ones that not a whole lot of people know about, they come, they shine, they leave, never to be talked about again. And in my opinion, that is always the fate of the best crossovers in video games. For example, the one we're going to be discussing in this video, the Project X Zone series on Nintendo 3DS, easily the best crossover events in all of gaming. You know, just to name a few of the characters that are in this. There's Leon Kennedy from Resident Evil. There's Kiryu from Yakuza. There's Ryu from Shenmue. There's the Street Fighter characters, Mega Man, Dante from Devil May Cry, and so many other people, and even includes the universe of those characters in the game, because there's one big world-transferring crossover event, which makes them really fun. Now, both games are about 60 hours long. This one you can get for like $6 at GameStop. This one's a little bit more pricey because it's newer, and it's $15. If you want to, import the Japanese ones, then oh my god, you're paying like $90 a piece. There's no difference between the Japanese and the American copy, just, extra physical stuff you get. But what makes that the greatest crossover of all time? Is it because of the characters that are in the game? Is it because of this, that, or the other? The characters that are in this game are some of the most noteworthy, most recognizable characters in all of video games from some of the biggest series in all of video games. But what makes this crossover the greatest crossover in video game history? In this video, I'm going to explain to you why I feel this is the greatest crossover of all time.
We want the night.
Project X Zone launched on October 11th, 2012 to an overwhelming amount of positive reviews and even got an 8 out of 10 by IGN and currently sits at 70% on Metacritic, but only because professional video game sites like Eurogamer weren't given free copies, so they bombarded the reviews with negativity since they were a little upset. But fans have overwhelmingly gave it 10 out of 10 each time. But that's all good scores, but scores mean nothing if the game can't back it up. And in this case, the game backs up everything and then pushes it off the ledge. The first game in the series offered 68 hours of story, which is almost unheard of for Nintendo 3DS games, and each series that was involved in the game's story each have a dedicated storyline that falls into canon with what goes on in the series that they are currently representing in the game. For example, even in the opening sequence, every single character that is represented still feels like you are looking into the series it came from, all the way down to the character model, which is an achievement in and of itself, since the art style for these series are so different. They have the anime style of Mega Man clashing with the dark and gloomy Resident Evil to birth a beautiful invention, which led us into the second game, which I consider the best crossover in video game history. This is Project X Zone Brave New World. Project X Zone starts off loud and strong with one of the best video game intro sequences of our time, which gives you a raging adrenaline rush to set you up for the masterpiece you're about to experience. The game kicks off with Raiji and Jiamu in a comedic encounter, but it quickly goes south and battle emerges, showing off the turn-based combat system that Capcom previously used in their games of yesterday. This combat system works well with the limited options you have on the 3DS, so it's quite impressive and to me very immersive, because I like to plan out my battles instead of going in guns blazing. Now, it is worth noting that the game is in Japanese, which for someone like me isn't an issue because I know the language very well. However, it does have subtitles, which if you're a fan of JRPGs or the Yakuza series, then you're no stranger to playing with subtitles. And they even went with the preferred voice actors for each series, that is the Japanese voice actors instead of finding some rando off the street. After the tutorial, the game wastes no time getting straight to the heart of the story and filling you in on what you're about to experience. There are portals popping up left and right, which may be time travel or interdimensional travel. You'll have to play the game to find out. I won't spoil it too much and none of the story at all. So let's focus on the gameplay over the story. Project X Zone features the return of Shinobi, who was one of the biggest video game series of all time that everyone thought was lost forever, but this game revived it, featuring Hatsuma in a new world and time, but still keeping classic Shinobi style. The gameplay itself is reminiscent to the older days of games, such as PlayStation 1 or SNES style of gameplay that you don't realize you miss until you play a game like this, even spanning across so many series. Unlike Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros., Little Big Planet, or PlayStation Battle Royale, none of these games feel like they lost their identity. Each character still has what made them noteworthy characters in a major series, which again is extremely unusual because most times the lore of games and crossovers are forgotten or completely rewritten to fit the narrative of the new game. The music in Project X Zone 2 is easily some of the best written in a game since Final Fantasy X over 15 years ago, and that's saying a lot because realistically no game has surpassed the score of that adventure, and even Square Enix himself will tell you that they have not had a single game to reach the same musical quality of Final Fantasy X. Everybody loves at least one series featured in this game, whether you're a Mega Man fan, a Yakuza fan, Devil May Cry fan, or you just like Leon's hair from Resident Evil, or even Shenmue, as we gear up for the release of Shenmue 3 in less than a year. You owe yourself the pleasure of enjoying this game. And with the Nintendo 3DS or 2DS, since they are the same thing, there really is no difference unless you look at very minuscule things like the 3D notch, which you don't need for this game at all. You can perfectly enjoy it on a 2DS. They're so cheap now, so you'd be crazy to deprive yourself of the experience you get from this game. But however, I would recommend the new Nintendo 3DS XL, since nothing is compromised. You do get the 3D switch, you do still get the second analog stick, which is exclusive to the new 3DS XL and the new 2DS XL models. And you know, it's $150. You get the Sangalo Pokemon edition, the Super NES edition, or just the, the plain old black edition. I personally have the Sangalo, and I'm about to get the SNES model. They're just so beautiful. So that's the one I would support, not only because of the 2 analog sticks and the bigger screen and the 3D switch, but you also get amiibo support. So you would kind of, if you want to play other games besides this, you really want to have that amiibo support. There's 1,000 reasons why this is the best crossover of all time. And without spoiling the game, I believe this is the best way to present it to you to get you to try out the game. I mean, for less than $100, you can play both games and buy a 2DS if you don't want to get the 3DS XL stuff. So it's a win for you, it's a win for Sega, Capcom, and Bandai Namco. It's just going to be an enjoyable experience for you overall. And with that being said, my name is CRUZANDO. Try not to die. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.